Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Scene Snobs podcast with your host, the Scene Snob himself, Mike Kimball. And I'm solo today, and I'm just coming out. I got a bunch of stuff I kind of want to talk about in film news, geek news, TV news, things like that. I also, towards the end, do want to get into my top 10 favorite modern horror movies. But for Halloween, we will get into. I'll get to that though. Right now, I kind of want to start off with this news out of Disney. And the fact that they are seemingly withholding the Fox backlog of movies, back catalog of movies from for-profit theaters, and they're no longer available to them. And this is really nothing new on Disney's part. They've been doing this for years with their own movies, to for-profit theaters, drive-ins, things like that, independent houses. And it's always, it always seems like it feels like it's the big conglomerate versus the little guy. It's kind of sad. I mean, Disney makes tons and tons of memorable fan-loved movies from many, many years. And I'm sure we would love to have marathons, things like that in indie houses. But unfortunately, if they are available, they're generally astronomical in price, to the point where the indie house can't afford it. So, I mean, it's kind of a moot point anyway. But now that they've taken over Fox since that merger, 20th Century Fox's backlog is now seemingly being put in the vault for for-profit theaters, so they can't even get it. And man, there's some names in there that just scare me. That scares me to see that, because I mean, look at 20th Century Fox. You got the Alien movies. I mean, I have not seen Alien on the big screen. It was just played this last May at the Alamo by me, and I of course missed it, of course, unfortunately. And I just, that's a movie I want to see on the theater in the big screen. So I hate to hear that it might not be allowed to be viewed. And, we'll see, though. We'll see how this all plays out. Alamo is not exactly a small indie theater chain. They're pretty big themselves, but still, when these movies cost a lot of money for them, it's hard to come by. It's hard to go for it. But, I mean, not just the Alien movies. You have, like, they were talking about in an article about this, they were talking about The Omen, the remake of The Fly, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Princess Bride is, 20th Century Fox. So many of these back catalog movies that are just truly amazing and could really help small indie theaters and drive-ins and things like that to get, to generate more business. Because let's face facts, like, it's not always going to be, the new movies aren't always going to bring them into the indie houses. These indie houses a lot of times rely on old movies to bring people in, old marathons, things like that, and bring these fans out. And I love it. Of course I want to see that. So it hurts me to read that, and I hate to see that happen. But right now, that's where it's at. There is no official word. Nobody, Disney hasn't come out and given an official statement on it or anything like that. But it has been going on for years. I just kind of wanted to shed some light in my opinion on it. I hate to see it happen, especially with Fox movies. And you know what? When this merger was happening, and I was like, Disney is Disney. Oh, man, it scares me a little bit now, because I never even thought about that. I never thought about Die Hard. What if I want to go see Die Hard on the big screen, and an indie house wants to show it, but they can't get it? I'd rather see it at an indie house or a drive-in or something like that than go to one of the bigger theater chains. That's just me, though. Let me know what you guys think. Definitely comment on that. I want to hear what the fans think. Definitely. So going on, I kind of want to talk about. I know last week I talked about the Watchmen in the first episode. I raved about it. Well, get ready, because episode 2 came out on Sunday, and I want to rave about that one. This show is not missed a beat. I kind of thought, spoiler alert on this, spoiler alert. Please, if you're listening and you haven't watched the first episode of the Watchmen, maybe tune off for a couple of seconds. I'd say about 25 seconds, and then come back in until you watch it. But all right, so here we go. I thought it might miss a beat when it killed off John Johnson's character. I was actually kind of hoping maybe he wasn't dead. He had an interesting type of character, and I knew there was something like kind of not just mysterious about him, but almost kind of like there was like an evilness to him, you know. And I definitely love in the first episode when he does the cocaine and he has it on his nose, and she spots it and like, you know, tells him to wipe it off. It's like, oh, this guy has like a bit of a double life. What's this about? You know, he isn't altruistic, or, you know, as he comes off. Well, man, did they hit the ground running with the second episode, and I'm anxious to see where it goes because, you know, you have Sister Knight going out. She's doing some investigating. She found Louis Gossett Jr.'s Will character, who is the little boy from the first episode in the beginning in the Tulsa riots. You find out he is a little boy. He's grown now, and I'm telling you, I still think he is going to be the Red Hood. Not the Red Hood. I'm sorry. It's DC, but wrong character. The Hooded Justice. And my apologies. So, I really think he's going to be the Hooded Justice, and I'm excited to see how that goes, how that plays out, because in the comics, he was the strongman at was it Ralph Mueller, I think? He was the strongman in at the circus, and that's who they always portrayed him as. But you never saw him without the hood. You don't know who he was, and I think it would be amazing, and it matches up well with everything they're hinting at, like with the Bass Reeves hooded character in the beginning of the silent film, chasing the dressed in white hat sheriff and taking him down. And then now Will has taken down seemingly a police chief that, you know, has two sides to a story and dresses in white, if you know what I mean. So, and that's not to give anything. I don't want to give too much away on that if you haven't seen the episode, but it's a pretty crazy reveal, especially for Sister Knight to find, you know, because that was like her mentor and best friend. So going from there, like, you have some great things happen in this episode, and they give you like a very cool, almost like the Black Freighter comics in the comic book, comic within the comic. They're doing a TV show within the TV show, and it seems like they're going to follow each hero in the Minutemen going forward. And the first episode was Hooded Justice, and man, I think it works well. It definitely matches up nicely with the action in the Zack Snyder movie, even though it does not pull from that movie and it's not a continuation from that movie. It is very cool how they do it, and how cool the fight scenes looked and how they're choreographed. So, if you were a fan of the movie, I think you'd be a fan of the choreography and the fight scenes in this. But I do think this is, so far, just the 2 episodes I've seen, vastly better. I think it's cool that you find out, again, a spoiler alert, I think it's cool that you find out that Will is the little boy from the beginning, who's played by Louis Gossett Jr. now, is Sister Knight's grandfather. So, there's going to be some fun things to find out there. Just exciting stuff, you know, and I'm anxious to see where it goes. I think it's 8 or 10 episodes this season, and they're knocking it out of the park so far. I'm really excited to see where they go with it. It does throw you for a loop. There are some WTF moments you're kind of like, whoa, what is going on here? But it's definitely worth checking it out. Another thing I saw, it came up last week, which I'm very excited for. I'm sure most of my Star Trek friends on here are excited for the new Picard TV show. Don't really know what to expect, but it is Picard coming back, and that's going to be awesome. And we got a glimpse at his Starfleet Admiral uniform. And man, does it look cool. This might be my favorite don't want to say iteration, but maybe favorite iteration of the Starfleet commander uniform. Before then, I always liked the red jackets that they used in Star Trek 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with the white collars. Well, they had the different colors for. They all had white collars, but they all had the different color insignias and such for depending on which department you were. Of course, you know that, but I do love the new one for the Picard show. It kind of brings it back a little bit because it's the way they have it is it's a rounded collar with a black trim on top, where you have your pins, where they have the commander pins, and then, well, it's Admiral for him, of course. Then it's red. It's very much similar to the suits, the uniforms from the movies, from next gen movies. I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking of like Insurrection and First Contact and Nemesis, more towards them, but it's red. So it's red trim on the shoulders and around the neck area, around the back of the neck, which is very cool. And then below that is a gold trim. Then a black trim under that, and then another red trim. It's very cool. The lining is very cool of it all. I definitely dig the way that they do the sleeves too, because they have a red trim around them. So I suggest going and checking it out if you haven't already. It's worth it. It's very updated, and I really dig it. This might be my favorite version of the officer's uniform. So that being said, like, you can check it out. That came out. That was I don't want to say leaked. I think that was actually just put out, just pictures of the costume itself. So, but some more news to come out as of yesterday. It was the Game of Thrones creators, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, are no longer doing the Star Trek trilogy that was being planned to follow up with the Skywalker trilogy that they're currently doing. They call it the Skywalker trilogy. I mean, it's Skywalker saga, but we'll see how it all ties up in December, or ties together in December. But I guess they were going to do a new trilogy that followed new characters and such, and these guys were going to run it, coming off hot from the last season of Game of Thrones. And they're off, and the only explanation we got was they wanted to focus more on their Netflix projects. So that's interesting to hear. I kind of want to see what they're going to do for Netflix. They did so well with Game of Thrones for years. Like, I would like to see where this goes. But I wonder, like, for me, I don't know that it's such a bummer. I don't know that I want another trilogy from Star Wars. I kind of want a lot of, maybe just for a little while, personally, just kind of one-off movies. I'd be cool with that. I know they're, Disney owns it and they want to make the most out of it, and I get that. But I mean, I just kind of want to, I just want one-offs for now. I don't really want another saga to go on. You're gonna end my saga, that started with the Holy Trilogy so many years ago. So that being said, I don't know how upset I am by this. I don't know what happens with the trilogy from here. Was it just a planned trilogy that they came up with the plan? Or was it a trilogy that Disney already had and just brought them on board to kind of oversee it? So from there, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, supposedly they're taking off to focus more on Netflix, which good for them if that's what they want to do. And in other Game of Thrones news that just happened today, the prequel that has been being talked about for a long time, and I remember they were talking about doing this prequel. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I remember they were talking about doing this prequel. What was it? Was it season 6 or season 7 when they kind of, I think it was season 7, when they kind of went back in time and were kind of telling Ned's story, saving his sister and all that, which was really cool. which was awesome during that season. It was cool to see all that. But I don't know. But I guess they wanted to do a prequel that doesn't follow Ned when he was younger or anything like that. I think it was going to just go all the way back to kind of the beginning of the Long Night era, you know. I guess transition out of that from what I was reading, but I remember they've been talking about this for a while, years now, doing a prequel, and then after it was like it seemed like it was all go, you know, all steam ahead for it. So it's surprising to see that it got killed because I guess they filmed the entire pilot, and it was in post production when they decided to kill it. So I wonder I wonder what happened there. I really do. I know Naomi Watts was supposed to star in it. I don't think it was Weiss and Benioff that were. They might have been executive producers, I'm sure, but I don't think they were show running for it. In fact, I'm pretty certain they weren't show running for it. So, not really sure where it goes from there. But I know they had other shows that they wanted to plan. I don't know. I thought it would have been interesting to see, but I don't know that I needed it. You know, I got a pretty good story from Game of Thrones. You know, they did a great job with that, and I don't know that I needed to go back anymore. I'm not against it. I mean, if it was on, I'd watch it. But it's crazy to me right now that that it's just like so much Game of Thrones related news is coming out in the past couple of days, and I wonder, and this is purely speculation. I have heard no rumors. This is just me speculating because my mind works in crazy ways, and I'm just trying to connect the two because it happened so close. Like it was last night when it came out that the creators were off of Star Wars, and they put out the release that was saying that, you know, we just want to focus on Netflix. And it wasn't a release. I think they tweeted it, but they wanted to focus on their Netflix shows. And then you have today canceled. Like HBO was like, yeah, you're done. You know, and again, I don't think they were very heavy on it, but I'm just like, that's a weird connection to me. That's a lot of, for a show that's ended, that's a lot of, I don't want to say cancellations, but a lot of things changing very quickly in the Game of Thrones universe. So I'm actually kind of intrigued to see where this goes. See if any more news comes out. See if they're going to go along with the proposed 5 shows I think I heard that they want to do for Game of Thrones, which I know I don't need that many. And it'd just be weird. I feel like that would be oversaturation, you know? Do I really need like 5 shows? Well, I guess now it would be 4, but do I really need that many shows from the Game of Thrones universe? Like, I don't need, like, I mean, I get, like, especially like Lord of the Rings and such, you know. But even then, like, and the reason I brought up Lord of the Rings is because that universe has been built on. But even then, like, it's really only built on in, like, what, 4 books, 5 books maybe? And, you know, they've written books about the world and the history of it, and I think that's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know that I need like 4 other shows on HBO, you know, to do all of Game of Thrones. Maybe another good show and see how that goes, and if that goes, I can bring off another spinoff, whatever works. But, you know, it just seems like it's just too much, you know. I feel like I'm going to get overwhelmed, especially when they're that good of shows, but you got to wait 1.5 years till they come out, you know. So that's just how I feel. I'm kind of rambling on that one, but I just don't think I need it. But I am interested to hear again, like what you think. So I'm always going to say that. You know, when it comes to stuff, I love to hear comments. I want my mind changed. You know, I'm not trying to stick to anything. And I don't think that I'm right, you know? So, well, sometimes, like, if I'll definitely say it if I think I'm right, but I don't always think I'm right. And I love other opinions. I want to hear what other people think, you know? And if it changes my mind, great. If it's a great theory that changes my mind to make me look at it a different way, I'm always all for it. So please feel free to let me know what's going on in your heads over this. So here it goes. I'm very excited to talk about this. So far we've covered Disney, we've covered, Star Trek, covered Watchmen, covered GOT, and a little bit of Star Wars. But here we go to cover again in this world, the Mandalorian trailer, full Mandalorian trailer. So I am ecstatic for this show. I don't know that I needed this show as much as I do now. Like, especially after seeing this trailer, it was amazing. I cannot wait until November 12th. I'm signing up. I'm going to be there. Disney, take my money. I'm already on Hulu. I'll up it and just join in. I want to see every episode of this show now. It looks great. Starts off so morose with the stormtrooper helmets on pikes and in the desert dirt, and then we see our hero, a hero-esque, who knows, our anti-hero, the Mandalorian. Great fighting skills, very old West vibe. This is definitely not a Mandalorian we've known before, And listen, I love Boba Fett, but he didn't do much by the movie standards. Great in the books, great in the comics, great in the cartoon. Didn't do much in the when it comes to the movie standards. So it's cool to get more of a, I don't want to say backstory, but like more in the realm of Mandalorians. I definitely want to see where this goes. I mean, if it pops up and they say, hey, he's Boba Fett, okay, cool. All right, I'm in. I'm going to be in for a good show. It doesn't matter. So many cool things. Like I said, the fight sequences just in the trailer alone, it was edited really well. I'm excited to see how this plays out. Werner Herzog is talking in it. Looks like he's going to play an old Imperial commander. So I'm anxious to see where that goes. That's an interesting casting choice. I mean, he always shows up. Like, I think my favorite Werner Herzog, like, I don't want to say cameo, but like probably my favorite of his, just popping up somewhere acting wise was on Parks and Rec. It was so out of there. I remember watching that episode, and my wife and I were talking, and I was just like, is that Werner Herzog? Like, it looks exactly like him. What the hell is he doing on Parks and Rec? It was just so out there. But I digress. But yeah, he's going. I don't know how long he's going to be on. I don't know if it's somebody that the Mandalorian is working for. But it's a very cool. He narrates the trailer, so it's a very cool plot. No, I don't want to say plot, but because I don't know yet. But it looks like it's going to be a cool character and see develop. So I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. One thing that kind of bugged me, and I don't know why it bugged me. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not, they'll probably explain it. John Favreau is leading this, so John Favreau knows his stuff. Like, I mean, we have so much to thank that man for. But when it comes to, what was I watching? When it comes to the carbonite frozen bounties, I guess. There's a shot in it where he's got like 4 or 5 of them kind of floating there. And I'm like, what? What is this? Like, this wasn't normal practice. I mean, why is it normal practice now? Like, that was a big contraption they had on Cloud City to carbonite freeze Han Solo. And it was a big deal. Boba Fett didn't want to do it. He didn't want him to die. He was like, he's better to me alive, But that was like Darth Vader's call. Like, I'm doing this. I don't care. So it was weird to me to see the Mandalorian uses this as a standard practice for his bounties. The only thing I could think of is, hey, he met up with Boba Fett after the events of Empire and was just like, hey, guess what I did? And this kind of worked and it was cool. You should try it too. But that's my only way of like talking out of it. If they ignore it, I think I will be annoyed even more because, like I said, it wasn't standard practice. It wasn't even something Boba Fett wanted to do. It wasn't his idea. Like, and it was kind of like lucky it worked out, you know. And they weren't even going to take him out. Like Jabba was just going to keep him there. So in the Carbonite. So I'm interested. I hope they explain that. That, like, when I saw it in the trailer, I was just like, don't make this a thing. I was like, the whole reason it was pretty cool that they did it in the first place was that for me, that like it wasn't something that was supposed to be done. He was probably going to die, and it was just like a plot device to get them out in case Harrison Ford didn't want to come back. But if he did, like, they can use it again. So, regardless of that, I hope they have a good explanation for it of why he's doing it. And I also hope they have a good explanation for how he's doing it. That cannot be something that's on his ship. That was a dedicated room just for carbonite freezing. That was a huge thing. And they had to lure Luke there for the trap. Like, if that's a thing that you can... And it's not... This takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. It is not that many years where you can explain it away as like, oh, well, technology is advanced. No, I don't. I disagree. Sorry. I don't think that's true. So I really hope it's not explained in that way. I would be more excited to see... like, maybe he visits Cloud City. You know, maybe he takes his bounties there and he's just like, I'm going to freeze him. Or he found another place he can go. It seems like he travels a lot in this show, so interested to see where it goes. Or it was a gang he had to catch up with and he needs to travel with them, can't have him escape, whatever. Takes him to Cloud City or wherever. You know, like I said, it could be another place. It doesn't have to be Cloud City. It would just be a good callback. And, you know, he had heard Boba Fett did this, and he was like, all right, I got to take my chance. I was like, this is a gang of guys, you know, I can't have them escaping on me, whatever, so I will just do this. I don't know. We will see, but the trailer is awesome. The show looks great. I'm super excited for it. Again, as much as I was kind of complaining about Disney with the Fox movies in the vault earlier, I mean, I can't give up on Disney. What am I going to do, boycott them? I mean, they're the only studio that exists where you go to see their movies as the studio. You don't go to see a Fox movie. You don't go to see a Sony movie. You don't go to see a Warner Brothers movie. You go to see a Disney movie. And by proxy, you go to see a Marvel movie. You know, a lot of times it's not, I'm going to see Avengers Endgame. I'm going to see the new Marvel movie. So, not even by proxy, just just almost comparison, rather. It's a word I guess I want to use, but you have, like, Disney is that huge. Disney is a movie you go see. When you go see their movie, you go see it because it was made by Disney. So I'm going to sign up for Disney Plus and give them more money, and I'm going to watch the hell out of The Mandalorian. And not just that, there's going to be tons of stuff. You know, all those movies that I'm not going to be able to watch in the indie houses will be on Disney Plus, so I will get to watch them. And if I'm being honest, I will say right now, from everything I have, streaming service-wise, my tops are... My number one is probably Hulu. Because I watch a lot of, the shows on there. I can catch my old shows, things like that. So my number one now is probably Hulu. Or YouTube. YouTube's probably number one. so I can watch a lot of my fellow podcasters and stuff out there. Then I would say, okay, number 2, I'll say maybe Hulu. I'll give it to Hulu for now. But I will say my most watched, it's not number 3, but my most watched is Shudder. I love Shudder. They have built themselves up huge. I remember them in the beginning when they really weren't much, and Midnight Meat Train was like on there. That was like the biggest movie on there. They have built themselves up to be a force to be reckoned with. And I suggest signing up. Again, they don't pay me for this. I'm just saying it. I just read earlier that you can sign up for a whole year. It's already only like $4 a month. But if you sign up for the year, you get 31% off on top of that. If you are a member, I think you get 20. If you're a member that pays monthly, you can get 20% off if you sign up for a whole year. Man, it's exciting. I love it. I love Shudder TV, just the randomness that's on there. I love everything they're doing. They have Joe Bob on there, which is something I want to talk about. Creepshow has been great. They've had some original shows and movies they picked up. They picked up real quick from Legion M my favorite movie of last year. Out of everything, Mandy was my favorite movie of last year. I love that movie. Yeah, I thought it was done incredibly. It was Nicolas Cage seemingly not even really having to act. It's just kind of like, put a camera on him. Tell him this is happening. But either way, it gave an amazing performance. And just the whole thing broken down, if you haven't seen it, is just visceral and disturbing and beautiful, and it's a love story at its core, but a theme is what do you call it? I lose track of my thoughts. Is conviction. Sorry, is conviction of man. And woman, of course, but I just use that as generalization, but it's the conviction that we all have. Like, who has more conviction? Is it the religious man who everybody follows because of his, how he talks of his conviction? Or is it the man who has just lost everything that he loves and he has set out on one focused goal? And if you haven't seen it, please go and see it. It is a brilliant movie. Should have been nominated for many things, and it was my favorite movie of 2018. But with that being said, going back to Shudder, that's my number 3. They pick up a lot of great movies. A lot of great movies are always coming out, especially stuff like I've never heard of. It was a lot of fun to watch. Boar, which was out of Australia. Bill Moseley was in it. And a very different type of character from what he's normally used to playing. But it was a fun movie. There was like a 10-minute scene of like just people talking trash in a bar, and I'm like, I want to go to Australia if everything wasn't going to kill me if I go. But it was pretty awesome. I definitely suggest checking it out. With that being said, my next one, I am going to put Netflix and Prime up there, probably in that order. Although I'm getting tired of Netflix. I barely go to it anymore. Stranger Things, especially if Stranger Things ends, I might get rid of Netflix. They have a lot of stuff, but it's like nothing really excites me other than like Stranger Things right now. They did some good stuff, like what was the movie that the TV show that just came out about Central Park 5? Like, that was a great show, but like it's the filmmakers behind a show that make them great. But like Netflix just keeps pumping them out. Like, I just find myself looking through Netflix for an hour and then going over to Shudder and watching a movie I want to watch, or going over to Hulu and watching a show I want to watch. Hulu has some great shows too. But the reason I bring this up is because on November 12th, Disney has Disney Plus coming out. They're going to have a package deal with Hulu because they own it now, and ESPN, and I'm going to go for it because it's Disney. Now I have Hulu. I have all the shows I want to watch that they have on there that are really good. And, Orville's going to be on there. Orville's going to Hulu, and I love that show. That's one of my favorite shows. And then they're going to be going over to, and then they have Disney Plus with a ton of stuff. And I'll watch ESPN, so ESPN Plus. I like my Sports Center and such, but yeah, I am excited for that. That's probably going to be right up there. Again, it's hard to bump Shudder out. Shudder is just doing so well for me, and I'm a horror nut, so like I'm all for it. But with that being said, before I get into my top 10 list of modern horror movies, I do want to talk about Joe Bob's Halloween Hootenanny, which was a lot of fun. Very disappointed to not see Halloween 3 come on. Come on, Joe Bob, get Halloween 3 on there. But if you missed it, he showed the original Halloween, which he's never done before. He's shown Halloween 2, but I have all the old Monster Vision episodes, and I don't think he's ever shown Halloween. I don't have it, and I have the lists, and I don't remember ever seeing it, but I know he's shown Halloween 2. I've seen Halloween 2 through him on Monster Vision. And then Halloween 4 and Halloween 5. Now, the reason I bring this up is because, A, it was just great to have Joe Bob on Halloween, another marathon, where it was the Friday the 13th movies back on Monster Vision days, back in 96, 97, and then to have him do some Halloween movies in one night was great, almost 25 years later. He did great, learned a lot of great things through him, but he has an admiration for Halloween 4 that I never realized, and he has a good explanation for it too, so I suggest you check it out. But Halloween 4 is not a bad movie. It's a pretty good movie. Like, I really enjoy it, and I'm always like kind of attracted to it whenever it's on. I'll always like kind of like go over to it, and I always think of it as a guilty pleasure. I've talked on the show before. 6 is like the first one I was really aware of. So it's got a place that's near and dear to my heart, but it is not a good movie. And then 5 was just so bad. And I always kind of lumped 4 and 5 together because I had Danielle Harris in them. And not that she was bad in any way. She was great in both movies. But because 5 was so bad and out there, I think I've always just lumped 4 in like, 4's bad too. But now, when you have Joe Bob sitting there telling you, it's like, no, 4's a good movie. And then he's like, 5's a bad movie. And he's telling you the differences and what's what. I'm like, yeah, I 100% agree. 4 is a really good movie. They followed up. They came back strong after 10 years, since the original had come out. In 88, they come back with a strong movie. And then they come back with the 5th movie where they get this, I think it was this, either Swedish or from Switzerland, a director who came in and was like, I'm going to change everything, and kind of was just out there the entire time, and even ends out there, and adds this whole new realm to it that just didn't work. And now I'm kind of annoyed. I'm kind of annoyed that it exists, because 4 was so good. I wish we could have seen what we got from 5. But that's neither here nor there. If you haven't watched the Halloween Hootenanny, you should. You should watch all of Joe Bob's marathons and his first season. I cannot wait for his Christmas marathon this year, which is on Friday the 13th, so I'm anxious to see what he has. And then season 2, I'm sure they'll announce that sometime in 2020. But with that being said, I was online the other day, and a buddy of mine tagged me in a post, and it was another podcast was just announcing that they were going to put out an episode with their top 10 modern horror movies. And he tagged me in to kind of find out what mine were. So I was excited for it. And I think that was really cool. I haven't had a chance to listen to other podcasts yet. I will. I don't even have it up. I don't mind giving a shout out when people have a good idea. And I would like actually to... if you give me just a second, I would like to find it so that way I can give them a shout out to my 2 fans compared to their probably hundreds or thousands. So all 2 of my fans, one of them being my wife. Yeah, go check out whatever podcast I am still looking for. Here we go. Lists, Lists, the podcasts. Lists, the podcast. That's what the name of the show is. Cool. I'm guessing Lists is their theme. And if they're ever listening to mine, I would, hopefully they'll dig my top 10 modern horror movies. So this is just, I took my favorites from the year 2000 until now. And, I not saying these are the best ones. There are a lot of honorable mentions. I wrote down a very long list of some very cool stuff. I'm mostly sticking to American. That's not, there's so many cool foreign films in the past 19 years too. But with that being said, here's my list. So starting with number 10, which I might even move this up because I think it's way better than it should be for 10. But again, it's my favorite, not particular, not the best. But The Descent, one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. Perfect cast, perfect setting. Still to this day kind of messes me up a little bit when I watch it. But it was so good. And it is it's a female starring and driven movie, which you didn't get a lot of, especially even back then in, 2005 when it came out? You didn't get a lot of those. You see more and more these days, and that's really good. But you didn't get a lot of them even back then. And there were no real names in it, but it was just such a good movie. So going on to number 9, kind of wrote these out of order, so you'll have to excuse me. But I know it's around here somewhere. Come on, where's number 9? That's number 8. 7-6. Come on, where's number 9? What is wrong with me? I don't think my eyes are working anymore. 9. The Collector. That movie messed me up, man. That movie was so good. I usually don't like gore porn movies. They have merit, don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against them, but they're just not really my cup of tea. But the whole cat and mouse game of the burglar versus the serial killer, the maniacal serial killer that sets up traps and is torturing his family, it's amazing. So that's my number 9 for the past 19 years, the modern horror movies. Number 8, Session 9. Session 9. I used to do this. I'm from New Jersey, and anybody who's from New Jersey or kind of knows of like the weird books, they started in Weird New Jersey. And I used to read those as a kid. I used to go on hunts for the Jersey Devil. I've been to a ton of abandoned mental hospitals, all the haunted villages and houses and all that jazz. This movie messed me up when I saw it in a good way because it was filmed almost perfectly to what it's like to be in a mental hospital, an abandoned mental hospital at night. I was like, this is dead on. This is exactly what it looks like. And this is exactly as spooky as it is. So that definitely earned the number 8 spot for me. Number 7, The Strangers. Another one that just hit me hard when I went and saw it. And that's what it is. Like, these aren't my favorites of all time. But in the modern horror, like, these really, like, left. They did a number on me. So The Strangers, definitely. Even when they just open up the blinds at the end and it's daytime and they're tied up, I'm just like, oh man, like I know it's not exactly it's not a convention, but it worked, man. It was just like, oh, it's daytime and they're screwed. Number 6, 28 Days Later. It did mess me up. It did resonate with me. It was so well done. Everything was great. Christopher Eccleston was my favorite in that. He did amazing. And I love 28 Weeks Later as well, but I had to give it 28 Days Later. I might actually like 28 Weeks more because of that opening. That opening scene when he's running away and he leaves, hooks on his wife, it's just it messes with me. Just to even think about it. But such a cowardly way. But 28 Days Later really started it up, and it was great for me. So it's number 6. Number 5 is Behind the Mask, the Leslie Vernon story. I love this movie. You know, mockumentary. Not really mockumentary, just filmed in documentary style, following this guy who's a serial killer as if all of the other famous slashers were real people, and he's just trying to live up to it and start a whole new thing. It's taken very seriously. I love it, and then I love how it just, as soon as the cameras turn off towards the end, or maybe like the last 20 minutes or so, as soon as those cameras turn off, and it turns into a slasher movie, not a fountain footage type. It was just so perfectly done. I loved every second of it. And it definitely goes down in my top 10. Number 4 is Insidious. Definitely resonated. That was a messed up movie, man, but I loved it. It was, James Wan is a genius. And all of them have been really good. All of the Insidious movies have been really good. But it starts with that first one, and that first one really gets you. And Patrick Wilson knocked that out of the park. And it was Rose Byrne. I was called Rose Byrne. I'm not even sure if that's right. But she was great, too. It's this desperate mother just trying to save her son. Oh, I loved it. Number 3 is Get Out. Do I need to say more? Like, Get Out was just one of the best movies of the past. It's one of the best horror movies of all time. Let alone, best modern horror movies. So it definitely had to go on the list. But for me, it reaches number 3 because the two and 1, 2 really got me. And that's James Wan's The Conjuring. 2 really hit me hard, and I loved it. And Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga were perfect. They're perfect together. The Warrens. And number 1, I have to give it to it. It's one of the best movies of all time, let alone best horror movies, let alone best modern horror movies. But if I'm going from 2000 to 2019, American Psycho. American Psycho. It was brilliant. For me, it just reaches. And I wanted to make this list more about horror. But there are a lot of great horror comedies that came out. And I do want to, some movies, not just horror comedies, but some movies that get honorable mention are Halloween, that came out last year. Watched it again last night. It's such a good movie. It's such a solid movie. The Babadook, A Quiet Place, The Witch, The Ring, Wreck, Trick or Treat, Saw, Cabin in the Woods, Green Room, Summer of '84 was a big one for me. Jennifer's Body, The Devil's Rejects, Dog Soldiers, High Tension or Switchblade Romance, whichever you call it, The Orphanage, Bubba Hotep, The Mist, Paranormal Activity, House of the Devil. These are all ones that I just felt like deserved to be mentioned. Dead Silence for me, I love it. I've also recommended before Poker Night. That's a big one. I really hope you guys check that out because it was terrific. Shaun of the Dead, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Ginger Snaps, Final Destination. Final Destination I look at as a movie that kind of opened the door to like the Saws or the Hostel or those clever, even like The Collector, those movies that had clever contraption type deaths, where more thought was put into these deaths that were in the movie. Like, it seemed like in the 80s, once you started going on in the franchise, it was like, how crazy can we make the deaths? Whereas with this movie, with Final Destination, it was like, how intriguing can we make each death? So for me, that was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed Final Destination. I think it opened up the door a lot. I mean, it went straight to how crazy can we make each death. But in that first one, I think they were taking it seriously, and it was more about, death is going to get you in any way. And yeah, I mean, there was some gore to it, but I think it opened the door a lot too. Let's think of some very cool ways to kill people, and I think they hit the nail on the head with that one. Zombieland deserves a mention. I don't know if I mentioned The Mist, but I do think that deserved a mention as well. That's about it. There's plenty of other movies. Don't get me wrong, but that's my top 10 though. So that is my top 10 horror movie, modern horror movies list, and I wanted to do that for Halloween. Halloween coming up soon. With that, I kind of want to probably end the podcast a little early since it's just me, but before then, I've wanted to keep going with the segment of reviewing and recommending a new movie. And I just watched the new, or a newer movie called the Banana Splits movie. It was a lot of fun. It was out there. It's not the best horror movie, It's something, they take the nostalgia of the Banana Splits, which come from the Monkees, and had their own show for just a brief little while in the 60s. And they play it off well. now they're murderous killer robots of a child's TV show. It's about a mother. Her youngest son is like obsessed with this show, the Banana Splits, and so she takes him, her older brother, and and the father to go see them, and things go haywire, and they start killing. They start taking everybody out, and it's inventive and different, and it's just something new. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air with having nostalgia and something familiar as well, So it was exciting. I definitely think you should go check it out. So that's the Banana Splits movie. That has just come out. That came out a couple months ago. I just got around to watching it, and I definitely wanted to recommend it. So that is my recommendation, and that is it. That's all I've got. But make sure that you follow the Scene Snobs podcast. It's at the Scene Snobs on Twitter and Instagram. We're on the Scene Snobs page on Facebook, and we're also the Scene Snobs channel on YouTube. You can go to scenesnobs.com to listen to any of our shows. We have the connection to SoundCloud and the YouTube channel on the videos page. So please go check us out, listen to us, give us likes, give us feedback, subscribe, the whole nine. We have things coming out every month. We have 2 other shows. Our flagship is the Scene Snob podcast, but we have the 20-minute wrestling podcast, which comes out on Mondays. We have a new podcast with the Scene Snob and Mrs. Scene Snob, where it's a marriage like that. It's a husband and wife trying to figure it out over mics. So it's we're just trying to do something a little interesting and different. I do have horror podcast coming out soon, and a couple other things that are going to be coming on. So please subscribe, pay attention to all that stuff, and get the notifications, and listen. And please, like I said, give feedback, whether on the YouTube channel, on SoundCloud, or on the website, or just going to any one of the social media pages. I'm always there. I'll always answer, and I do want to hear your side of things and what you hear, and let me know what you think. So with that being said, have a good night, everybody, and I will talk to you soon.